Chapters, and welcome to Creative Moments by G. I'm Georgia, and so happy that you're with us today. Guess what time it is? It's time for part 2. Monty and I created some cards with the bananas and the toast. So let's head down to the crafting table and let's get started. Okay, we are going to create an angled trifold. Now look how this works. It slips underneath it, and then we created another one with a belly band. So the first thing you're going to need to do is take out a full piece of cardstock, because you are going to use the 8.5 by 11. And you are going to cut this on the short side at the 5.5 mark. And just put this to the side. Then you're going to turn it, and you are going to score at 3 3/8. And 3 3/8, that's just 1/8 before the half mark, if that helps you remember it. So go ahead and make sure that you have moved your cutting blade down and score that. Now, you can just move it over, but I like to go ahead and just remember 3 3/8. So I'm going to simply flip over my paper and put it at 3 3/8 and score. And now we're going to get our bone folder and we're going to burnish our score lines. Now you can see that one overlaps the other, and that's exactly what you want. And so now we're ready to angle our cards. And let me show you a template. Here's a template. We are going to cut our card from this fold out 1.5 inches. And we're going to do just the opposite on the other side. So we'll be cutting the fold line to the point 1.5. And then we'll use this point and cut 1 inches. So let's go ahead and do that. Bring in your trimmer. Put your fold line right in the canal. And then we're going to turn this point down to the 1.5. And you see your 1 right here, and there's a half. Well, you can also see your 1 down here. So here's the 1.5. We're going to put that point right here to the 1.5. Make sure that your folded line, right here, your scored line is in the canal. Close it down and slice. And there we have our first slice. Now we want to stay on this side and go ahead and slice our paper from here to here. So we are simply putting this point in the canal and bringing your bottom one over to the 1. And we are slicing. So this point into the canal and the bottom point over on the 1 inch mark. And slice. And there we have it. So now let's move over to the other side. We do just the opposite. Put the fold line right in the canal, and you're going to move this point right here to the 1.5. And this is the 1.5. Now you may not have that on your trimmer, and if you don't, you still just need to put this in your canal and move that to the 1.5, keeping that in the canal, and make sure it's over here, and slice. Now we're going to put this point line in the canal and simply move our bottom point over to the 1 inch. Make sure you keep that in the canal and slice. And there we have it. Look how easy that was. Now the next thing we want to go ahead and do is let's see how we're going to decorate the top. What we're going to do is create one side, and we're going to create our background. So this one will be on top. We're going to slice it the exact same way. Now this paper is 3 1/4 by 5 1/4. So cut yourself this paper first, and now we're simply, remember, we want to make the first slice, you can tell on this piece of paper, from the right to the left. So go ahead and put it in your trimmer, put the point in the canal, and this point we're going to bring down to 1 1/2. Follow the line from right here. That's 1 1/2. So we're going to go ahead and make sure that that's lined up. This is in the canal, and we're going to slice. Now go ahead and keep it there because we need to do the bottom. Put this one in the canal. Bring your bottom point to 1. Make sure it's still in the canal. And slice. And there you have it. Now, you can see we want to leave a little border here. So we've left a border on all 3 sides. But we still need a border on this side. So we're just simply going to put this in our trimmer and take off 1/8 inch. So 1/8 inch on that side gives us the exact border that we want. And remember, all our measurements will be listed over on creativemomentsbyg.com, and you just have to click on my blog and you'll have all the measurements right there. Now look how this lines up. See, it's perfect, perfectly lined up. So we're just going to set that to the side, and let's go ahead and cut the paper that we need for this side. So we took an envelope apart, and we are simply going to use this. Now you need to pay attention to the direction that you want to cut. Just make sure that you do that. I wanted the lines to be vertical, so I cut it appropriately. So once again, this time we're going to do just the opposite. We're going to cut from the left to the right to give us our first point. So we simply put this in the canal and take this tip and go down to the 1 1/2 mark. So line it up, always making sure that is in the canal, and that's on the 1 1/2, and slice. Now leave it on your machine because now we're going to put this point in the canal and bring this bottom one to the 1 inch mark. Perfect, and slice. Let's just look at that very quickly. You can see that we have it perfectly lined up, but we want to cut 1/8 inch off here. So let's just put that in the trimmer and very quickly cut off that 1/8 inch. And that gives us our border all the way around. And so now we have all our pieces cut. We're simply going to lay this down, and we are going to use our tape runner to do that. Now we have found when you use a tape runner, it gives it a little edge if you just go ahead and use this piercing pad. It allows it to go in. So we are simply going to add us some tape. Now remember, when you are working with a tape runner, you really don't have much time. Once it goes down, it is stuck. So really get it lined up before you put it down. And there we have it. Aren't those colors beautiful? Now the next piece of paper that we're going to use for here, we're going to go ahead and stamp that. And because we have such bright colors, we're going to use Early Espresso to stamp the banana, and then we are going to color them all different colors. So let's get our paper. And now we are going to use these blends to make it a party card. And so we have Pool Party, Daffodil Delight, Granny Apple Green, and Melon Mambo. Okay, and now we have it colored, so we're simply going to lay it down on this, on the right hand side. And now we're going to add the inside to the card. So let's go ahead and stamp our sentiment. And let's go ahead and add a banana to the side of it, just to give it some color. We're going to add that right to the center, and we'll use our tape runner. And now to keep this closed, instead of a belly band, we have cut out 2 circles using a 1-inch circle and a 1 1/8 inch punch. So both of these are punches, and we are simply going to create a little tab that this can slip under. So let's go ahead and stamp this with our call out little bubble, and let's add hi to that. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to set this up on dimensionals, and you only need 1. Now on this card, you want to make sure that you just put your dimensionals right here on the left-hand side so this can slip under. So we're going to use some mini dimensionals. And now look how it closes. You simply bring this out and then slip it back down underneath. Okay, so we have this one colored. We created our own background. We created this one our own background, but we kept everything yellow. And now let's move on to our loaves. Here is the card that we're going to create. We used a belly band. We used the same angled trifold. Look at that, and created a belly band for it. So the first thing you will need is to go ahead and grab your paper to create your base card. And your base card is going to be the 5.5 by 11. So we're going to go ahead and cut that. Save this for your belly band. And we are now simply going to move our cutter out of the way because we are going to score our side panels. And our side panels are 3 3/8 inch. So remember, that is 1/8 before the half mark. So let's go ahead and score that. Flip it over, do 3 3/8. And now we're simply going to burnish our score lines to give us that good crease. And now we're going to make our cuts. So bring out your trimmer, and remember, we're doing opposite sides. So we're going to start with this fold and put it in the canal. And we're going to bring this point down to 1.5 on our trimmer. So we know that the half mark is right there. We need to line that up right there. Make sure that your fold is in the canal and slice. Now leave it in the trimmer because we are going to now cut the bottom part. Put this point in the canal. Bring it back out to 1 inch on this point. Make sure that everything is right where it needs to be. In the canal and on 1, and slice. And there we have that first cut. Now we're going to put this in to the other side. Put our fold in the canal and bring this down to the 1.5, which on Stampin' Up's trimmer is right on the edge. and slice. Keep your paper on the trimmer. Simply turn this point into the canal and bring this out to 1, this bottom point, and slice. And there you have your card. So now we just need to cut our DSP. And we are using the envelopes, and we have selected our paper already. We opened up our envelopes and we cut this down to size. Remember, this is 3 1/4 by 5 1/4, and this is not directional paper, so we didn't have to worry about it. Now let's go ahead and start with this side. We know that we're going to start on the right hand side, putting it in the fold and moving it down to 1 1/2. So we have it on 1 1/2. We have this point right here in the canal, and we're simply going to slice. And now we're simply going to cut off the 1/8 inch right there. And there we have our first cut. So the next one, we're simply going to bring this on top of the paper, and we know that we need to cut from left to right. We're putting this point in the canal, moving this out to the 1 1/2 and slicing. Now we're putting this point in the canal and bringing it out to 1. The bottom cut is to a 1 inch point. And cut. And now we have exactly what we need, but we need to cut that 1/8 inch off. So we are simply bringing it up to our trimmer and trimming that. And now we're ready to glue this down. And there we have our base card. Now what we're going to do is create our belly band. So let's go ahead and bring that piece of strip that we had already cut, and we're going to cut a 1 inch strip. Now the way I look at my belly band is I put it to the back and I just go ahead and lay it down, make sure it's even on both sides, and I just go ahead and kind of fold it over this way. And you can have it be as long or as short as you want. And you don't want it so tight that you can't slip it on and off very easily. So now you can leave this on the top because this is where we're going to put our bread that is so cute. And you can still take it on and off. So let's just put this to the side. Now we have already used our dies and cut out this adorable image. Oh my goodness, look at that. We are going to stamp our loaf on this white piece of cardstock. And we're going to bring this one in. And you need to leave enough room for your sentiment right here. And we're going to go ahead and stamp our sentiment in the Memento Black. A toast to your success. And now we're going to use our blends to color this. We're going to color the crust light, soft suede. And then we're going to pick up a little bit of shading and we're going to use dark petal pink. Just a little bit of shading right here. And now we want to bring in that adorable little heart, and we are going to use real red to stamp that right in the middle of our piece of toast. Okay, and now we are simply going to add this on dimensionals to our other image, just to raise it up and give it some dimension. We need to add our white piece of paper here, and we are going to stamp it first before we put it in. We're going to use our blends to color that crust. And bring in our heart. And we're going to stamp right there, I loaf you, in the memento. Okay, now to create the belly band, we've already created the dimensions that we need. We're just going to use our tape runner and put a little bit of tape right there. We need to add the inside of our card. And now we're going to add our belly band to the front and add that beautiful decoration that we made. And we are going to just add some glue right here and then press it down. Get it positioned exactly where you want it. The toast and the bananas are just adorable. We love it. How fun are these cards? Great for a party. Great for an invitation. What do you think about these cards? Which card do you like best? The bananas or the toast? Well, we had so much fun with part 1 and part 2. Remember, we will have part 3 in the next couple of days where we use all of them to give you some ideas and some alternatives to work with this paper pumpkin. We sure hope you join us. Remember, if you haven't subscribed, click the button below and ring that bell because that will notify you when part 3 goes up. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. Listen, when you go out in the world, be kind to yourself and others. Be creative in your crafting, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.